Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Identity Insights by Indicio. The Hyperledger Aries Bifold group recently held their first ever summit, and today I'm joined by Indicio's senior mobile software engineer and our mobile team lead, James Ebert, and he's here to give us a brief overview of what they discussed. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with me today, James. Could you please start us off with a quick explanation of what the Hyperledger Aries Bifold working group is and what they're working on?
Yeah, so Aries Bifold is a project for building decentralized identity wallets for the purposes of receiving and presenting credentials, among other things. I think that's the most primary thing that we do with wallets, but I think there's more that we can do.
All right, sounds good. So why did the group want to host a summit?
We wanted to be able to have some we wanted to have some dedicated time as a group to be able to talk over some key issues. The most notable of which is architectural issues. So there's a couple of challenges that multiple parties have felt with the project as of late. Most notably being being able to easily contribute and easily pull changes in from the project itself, and then also certain levels of customizability. So being able to actually make it fit your own use case. We've had some challenges there. So as a community, we came together to say, okay, we want to talk about these architectural issues, and there was also some other discussion we wanted to talk about. So that was kind of the inciting, motivating factors to say, hey, let's get some dedicated time where we can all be in the same room and talk about this.
All right, very cool. So how much time did you set aside for that? Was it one day? Was it a couple days, a few hours? How long was the summit?
We did two 2-hour sessions across 2 days, and that seemed to be a decent amount and helped a lot. A lot of critical conversations happened.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it a little bit going into that, but there were some challenges you said. Did you break it up by day? Like for day one would be challenges around usability. Day two is, other challenges. Was there any themes to the days, or what did that look like?
So the first day was completely architecture. That's all we talked about. And the second day, we had a couple of other topics. We talked some about a couple of other things relevant to the bifold community. One of them being that one of the questions Sam Curran had posed was what the bifold community wants out of the next Aries interop profile. So from an interoperability perspective, what does the bifold community want to have be standardized? And that had some useful discussion. The most relevant there being is where does OCA or overlay capture architecture fit into the profile and the interop profile? So that's an ongoing discussion with the Aries community, but that one was a helpful discussion to have. And then to finish that question, the second session, we also had some additional follow-up discussion on architecture in the second half of the session.
So how many people attended the sessions? And if there are any like super memorable questions, obviously Sam's topic comes to mind, but what were some of the bigger questions that were asked, and maybe any action items from those questions?
Yeah, so we had a good number of people show up. Timo Glasser showed up, a number of people from BC Gov and Ontario, and so we had good representation from the Canadian provinces, and so we had a pretty good turnout, and there were a lot of questions. And I think we answered some of them, and we also came away with other questions and things we needed to investigate. For instance, one of the ones that we wanted to take a look at was Storybook, a specific tool for UI design and iteration. And we said, hey, we want to take a look at this, but we need to do some more research. So that was one of the action items, and we actually talked about it this morning in the user group call. And another one being, do we want to utilize Expo for our development process? I realize these are a little bit technical things, but a lot of this was a fairly in-depth technical discussions that we were having. And so those were some of the takeaways. Were questions and things that we need to answer. Some of the things that we did answer, though, is that we are looking to move towards a modular component-based architecture, meaning we're providing building blocks versus a full application. And there's a couple of reasons for that. It gives flexibility to the end developer, meaning that as a end developer, I have my own use case that I need to meet, or I have my own UI requirements based off of my needs. And having the component structure and some of the bits on top of that, the idea is to support those needs a lot better. I think that's one of the most major things that we came to alignment on in the summit. I think that one of the other things that I committed to this morning is we need to, I'm going to be putting together a roadmap of, hey, how do we actually start actualizing some of the things that we had talked about and following up on and whatnot. So a little bit more concrete of a plan, but so that's some of the questions and some of the things that came out of the summit. There's a little bit of a long-winded answer. Did you have any follow-up on any of that?
No, I think that sounds pretty good, and I appreciate you going into some detail on some of the more technical stuff. The main follow-up for that is, yeah, what is next? If you know, in your mind, what are some of the first things you need to implement, and then some of the stuff that, you know, is definitely a priority, but will be a little bit, you know, maybe later down the road.
So one of the things that we had talked about was we're going to be taking the model of crawl, walk, run, meaning we want to do some experimentation first. And what we're looking for is to get the right architecture and structure and then slowly start putting components into it. So what we're not looking for is a complete refactor of everything, but a slow inclusion over time strategy. So the next steps are getting some of the basics in place. So we want to, for instance, migrate to using Yarn instead of NPM for package management. And some of the project configuration and the repo management. Those are some of the things that we have to get sorted out and will help us as we start to implement this new architecture. So that's kind of the next steps. It's definitely going to be a process, and there's lots to talk about as a community and figure out. But I think this was a very productive. It accomplished the goal that we set out for with the summit, was to make the conversations happen and also the timing put us out on the right foot coming into 2023. So,
all right, sounds good. So it looks like we are coming to the end of our time here, James. I appreciate again you taking the time to sit down with me. If you like the content, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, and we'll continue to bring you some more news and interesting information around the decentralized identity community. And James, do you know if this group is looking for any more members? If somebody wanted to get involved, you know, where would you suggest that they look?
Yeah, I actively encourage people to get involved in the group. We meet Tuesdays at 8 a.m. Pacific. Yeah, get involved. We want your contributions. We want you to use the project. We want your feedback. Love to see you there.